Laws of Power. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. Keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what you're up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. Use smoke screens to disguise your actions. Deception is always the best strategy, but the best deceptions require a screen of smoke to distract people's attention from your real purpose. The bland exterior, like the unreadable poker face, is often the perfect smoke screen, hiding your intentions behind the comfortable and the familiar. If you lead the sucker down a familiar path, he won't catch on when you lead him into a trap. Keys to power. If you believe that deceivers are colorful folk who mislead with elaborate lies and tall tales, you are greatly mistaken. The best deceivers utilize a bland and inconspicuous front that calls no attention to themselves. They know that extravagant words and gestures immediately raise suspicion. Instead, they envelop their mark in the familiar, the banal, the harmless. Once you have lulled your sucker's attention with the familiar, they will not notice the deception being perpetrated behind their backs. This derives from a simple truth: people can only focus on one thing at a time. The smokescreen can be practiced on a number of levels, all playing on the psychological principles of distraction and misdirection. There are multiple forms of smokescreens. The most simplest one is facial expressions. Behind a bland, unreadable exterior, all sorts of mayhem can be planned. This is a weapon that the most powerful men in history have learned to perfect. Second, one of the most effective smokescreens is the noble gesture. People want to believe apparently noble gestures are genuine, for the belief is pleasant. They rarely notice how deceptive these gestures can be. The third effective smokescreen is the pattern, the establishment of a series of actions that seduce the victim into believing you will continue down the same path. The pattern plays on the psychology of anticipation. Our behavior conforms to patterns, or so we like to think. In poker, people look for tells. In this scene, we see James Bond finding a tell, but he didn't realize that the other guy was luring him into a trap. He concealed his intentions and made it seem like the tell was his pattern of playing, deliberately luring James Bond in and making him believe that James got him.
This is me in character, pissed off because you're losing so fast we won't be here past midnight.
It was worth it to discover his tell.
What do you mean?
The twitch he has to hide when he bluffs.
Look, it's the tell. He is bluffing.
2.
We raise 2 million.
I'm all in. Bond will have to go all in to call his bluff. Go.
But when the time was right and everything was on the table,
You must have thought I was bluffing, Mr. Bond.
he crushed James in the game. Only then, James realized his mistake. The pattern is powerful in that it deceives the other person into expecting the opposite of what you are really doing. Another psychological weakness on which to construct a smokescreen is the tendency to mistake appearances for reality. The feeling that if someone seems to belong to your group, their belonging must be real. These habits make the seamless blend a very effective front.
It's just the job.
The trick is simple. You simply blend in with those around you. The better you blend, the less suspicious you become. This coincides with another law which we'll get to later. Remember, it takes patience and humility to dull your brilliant colors, to put on the mask of the inconspicuous. Let me tell you also that you should not despair at having to wear such a bland mask. It's often your unreadability that draws people to you and makes you appear a person of power. Observance ensues. Harvey and Mike try to keep one of their clients from going bankrupt. They go to the bank to restructure the loan. However, the bank doesn't want that and hide behind a smokescreen because they have another agenda.
Are you kidding me? The terms of loans are adjusted all the time.
And you can see he has the assets.
That is not liquid. You're never going to be able to sell a minority partnership interest. And that, a monkey could tell you could never monetize that.
And you know what else a monkey could tell you? You're about to ruin a property that will make you millions.
I'm so sorry, gentlemen, but this is not 2007. We don't play that game anymore. Today we're going to take a look up your skirt and see what you have. And I'm afraid you don't have much.
Doesn't make sense for them to foreclose and devalue all their other projects.
Unless they have another agenda.
Huh, I wonder where we could ever find evidence of that.
I think we can take this to the bank. The balloon payment's going away.
Okay, I'll bite. Why is it going away?
What happens to Madison 25 after you force it into bankruptcy?
Maybe someone steps in and finishes it. Someone whose recent merger leaves them needing a large downtown address.
Oh, now that you mention it, there's a little item in your shareholder letter about the search for a new corporate headquarters. You intend to leverage this foreclosure to get a prime piece of real estate at a song. You see, Elaine, we looked up your skirt.
Friends, before we move to the observance of the law, if you wish to see more content and more laws like this to help you become more powerful or at least recognize the power plays in the world, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button because it would be making a huge difference for my channel. By the way, the ethical variant of this law is found in the description down below. Enjoy. Observance of the law. In the 1920s, a quiet, mild-mannered young man called Haile Selassie was outcompeting the warlords of Ethiopia. In 1927, Selassie summoned the powerful warlords to come to him to declare their loyalty and recognize him as their leader. They all came, but only one. Balcha dared to defy Selassie totally. A blustery man, Balcha was a great warrior, and he considered the new leader weak and unworthy. Balcha eventually agreed to come at his own speed and with an army of 10,000 men, a force large enough to defend himself, perhaps even start a civil war. He stationed the army in a valley 3 miles from Selassie. Selassie invited Balcha for an afternoon banquet. But Balcha, no fool, knew history. He knew that the previous kings and lords of Ethiopia had used banquets as a trap. Once he was there and full of drink, Selassie would have him arrested or murdered. He agreed to come to the banquet, but only if he could bring his personal bodyguard, 600 of his best soldiers, all armed. To Balcha's surprise, Selassie said he would be honored to play host to such warriors. Balcha warned his soldiers to not get drunk and to be on their guard. Selassie was his charming best. He deferred to Balcha, treated him as if he desperately needed his approval and cooperation. Balcha warned Selassie that if he did not return to his camp by nightfall, his army had orders to attack the capital. Selassie reacted as if hurt by his mistrust. To Balcha, it seemed that Selassie was scared, intimidated by this great warrior who could not be outwitted. Sensing the change, Balcha believed that he would be the one to call the shots in the days to come. Later on, Balcha and his soldiers began their march back to the camp. When Balcha came inside of his camp, however, he saw that something was terribly wrong. Where before there had been colorful tents stretching as far as the eye could see, now there was nothing, only smoke from doused fires. What devil's magic was this? Friends, here is what happened. During the banquet, Selassie had armed his own troops with baskets of gold and cash. They had surrounded Balcha's army and proceeded to purchase every last one of their weapons. Realizing his situation and danger now, Balcha decided to march south with his 600 soldiers to regroup. But the same army that had disarmed the soldiers blocked his way. The other way out was to march onto the capital, but Selassie had set a large army to defend it.
Lay down your weapons!
Like a chess player, he had predicted Balcha's moves and had checkmated him. For the first time in his life, Balcha surrendered. To repent his sins of pride and ambition, he agreed to enter a monastery. Interpretation. Throughout Selassie's long reign, no one could quite figure him out. Ethiopians liked their leaders fierce, but Selassie, who wore the front of a gentle, peace-loving man, lasted longer than any of them. Never angry or impatient, he lured his victims with sweet smiles, lulling them with charm before he attacked. In the case of Balcha, Selassie played on the man's wariness, his suspicion that the banquet was a trap, which in fact it was, but not the one he expected. Remember, the paranoid and wary are often the easiest to deceive. Win their trust in one area and you have a smokescreen that blinds their view in another, letting you creep up and level them with a devastating blow. A helpful or honest gesture, or one that implies the other person's superiority, are perfect divisionary devices. Properly set up, the smokescreen is a weapon of great power. It enabled the gentle Selassie to totally destroy his enemy without even firing a single bullet. Balcha's last word before entering the monastery were, "Do not underestimate the power of Selassie. He creeps like a mouse, but he has jaws like a lion."
You've been warned.
Reversal of the law. No smokescreen, red herring, false sincerity, or any diversionary device will succeed in concealing your intentions if you already have an established reputation for deception. In such cases, it is better to own up, to appear the honest rogue, or better, the repentant rogue. Not only will you be admired for your frankness, but, most wonderful and strange of all, you'll be able to continue your stratagems.